Welcome to the Octopod. I'm Kyle Davis, head of the Office of the CTO. Join us as we dive into the latest technologies and trends shaping business. Whether you're a tech enthusiast, a business leader, or just looking to stay ahead in the digital age, this podcast is for you. Let's unlock opportunities with technology together. Let's jump in.
Welcome back everyone to Hybrid Platforms Trend Series. This time again joined by Paige from Verkada and continuing our conversation around the topic of smart solutions for retail security. Paige, do you want to just introduce yourself to everyone again?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So I'm Paige Dougherty, one of the enterprise account executives at Verkada, and I work with organisations in the north of the UK to implement hybrid cloud physical security.
Excellent. So we've been talking about this topic around smart retail security. In the first episode, we touched on loss prevention, shrinkage. We touched on, supply chain and staff retention and all sorts of great topics that the platform can help deliver. But actually, I think one of the bigger conversations is the wider conversation around actually the data that we have in this platform. How can we use this to help make better decisions within businesses? Because then again, that will feed into our business case justification conversation. But let's have a little dig into what are some of the things outside of direct loss prevention can we do with a platform like the Verkada physical security platform? Where would you want to start this, do you think?
Tricky one. Where do we start? I mean, traditionally, when we look at all things physical security, it would sit with a security team. It might sit with facilities, estates. It might touch IT a little bit. But if I said to you, for example, marketing could be interested in physical security, would you think that's the norm, or would you think...
I don't think that's the norm, but I think from the conversations we've been having with our retail customers, certainly second half of last year, is this is the sort of things they're starting to think about. Is how can I use data to help inform decisions across different departments? But again, I think IT will need to take the lead on this in helping the business understand what is possible. Yeah. Because it's generally a technical solution that needs to be translated into a non-technical department.
Yeah, exactly that. And pre-cloud, it's always been sharing data, specifically CCTV footage, for example. It's always been really difficult to share because a lot of organisations today, they don't even have the capabilities to view remotely. So for you to say to market, and if you want to understand the trends within a store, you need to be on the ground there, or you'd have to go into that store and go into a dusty room out the back where you've got some camera screens or whatever, a little joystick, and have a look and see what's going on. It's not really happening at the moment. But a lot of, like you say, a lot of retailers and a lot of organisations we speak with, what is really important for them is that marketing can understand where product placement should be and where they should be launching new items and what the store layout should be, and data on where somebody's store journey. So typically, where do they head from walking in that door and what does that path look like around the store? That can be really powerful because then you start to understand this is human nature of where they're heading. This is where I'm best fit to place my products to sell them up.
I think historically we've done that with maybe trying to do it with wayfinding and mobile devices and things like that, but the accuracy on that sort of stuff isn't always the best. By doing that with video effectively, then you're getting a much more live view of the intent of the person. And then obviously with AI, we can start to look at that intent and the emotions of the person and things like that to sort of make even better decisions. When they stopped there, why did they stop there? Were they happy? Did that stand that you've put up with that message, did it resonate? What emotion did it evoke in the customer that stopped there?
Yeah.
Etc. You get a lot of interesting insights that are far wider ranging than just a security outcome. They're a business outcome at that point, which at the end of the day is going to increase revenue, which is
100%.
A profit generating thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think even high level things like heat mapping, for example, like let's understand the busy areas in the store. We want to understand where that footfall is. And even when we go back to, say, the entrance of the store, a lot of organisations that we speak with, they do footfall counting or they monitor footfall, but they're using a third party, another system for that. And I think what organisations are interested in today are consolidating that vendor stack. So let's have a CCTV system that tells me which direction people are travelling. So I can supply that data to the market team, but also counts my footfall so I know when it's busy. So then I can start liaising with the business team on staffing issues. Have we got too many staff in at one given moment? And these are all things that, yes, they'll ultimately save the business money from the bottom line, but it's not things that traditionally have been achievable with physical security in the past.
And I think you can also take that data and use it in when you're pitching for product placement from the people that your products you're selling. So, do you want to have your product placed in the high footfall area of the store? It's going to cost you X. You want to market your product in a low footfall store, that's fine. Or you want to market your product next to an associated product, etc. Then you can start to use this data to maybe monetize the outward costs of your vendors' products effectively within the store, which again increases revenue, gives you better relevance to that partner as well. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
So now we've got a platform that we can be using it from a loss prevention perspective. We can be using it there to generate data that can help marketing with product placement, etc. We've got it helping from a staff well-being and safety perspective. We're now really starting to get a lot of value out of that consolidated platform for the business. But we can also look longer term, think about what does the next store need to look like? When we're looking at designing the next facility or the refresh of the next one or the refurb, using that data to inform, like you say, footfall patterns. We can even extend into the car park, I guess, and look at traffic patterns in and out of the car parking and where the congestion is there. Because I know, certainly for my local supermarket, until they added an extra exit, getting in and out was an absolute nightmare. And there was times where you just don't want to go because you're going to be sat queuing to get out of the car park. Now they added an extra exit and that made a massive difference. But it'd be interesting to know whether that was driven by data of where to place that exit or whether they just guessed. I don't know. But, again, being able to make them data-driven decisions is got to be super important for the organisation. But I think it's possibly wider than that as well, because we talk a lot about cost optimization, we talk about, increasing profits, etc. But decreasing costs and certainly staffing costs can be a big impact on organisations. And I know you've talked, Paige, about, what's the impact of tailgating, what's the impact of contracting staff not being as honest as they could be within retailers.
This is something that I had quite an interesting use case from a customer recently, and they have a lot of agency staff, so cleaners, contractors on site, and their sign-in process. And this is, you wouldn't typically think this links to physical security, but when you start looking at a platform that has everything in one place and it's cloud-based, this was something we were actually able to assist with. But ultimately, they would have contractors, cleaners, they were agency staff, so they had to sign themselves in. And they would typically, might be two of them supposed to be on the job. One of them might attend, but they would sign the other one in. So they're not there, but they're getting paid. And this kind of falls into the time and attendance piece. But what we've been able to do in that situation is basically use Face ID and a guest sign-in piece to ultimately understand that, you've got to do this to get paid. But secondly, we're sending cleaners in. Has the site even been used? Does it even require cleaning? So that then links into your physical security and your motion detection to let you know, has anyone been in there, or are we sending staff to clean an area that doesn't require to be cleaned?
And I guess you can take that the other way as well, is detecting spills and things like that, and actually directing people to clean outside of schedule to increase safety and appeal of the store and all that sort of stuff. So I guess there's both sides of that we can look at once we have this combined platform and all of that sort of conjoined data.
And this is where you get the benefit, right? When you're getting all of this data that traditionally it would be used retrospectively to have a look at an incident that's happened, but we're looking at things more proactively now, and it's just helping organisations make that shift, because multiple people can benefit from the data that we're collecting across the business. I mean, even down to things like, is it relevant to understand how many of a specific item was sold at a specific time and what did that demographic look like? So that's something that I don't actually know how you would monitor that previously, but how we're doing it today is, let's monitor headcount, let's monitor the attributes of what those individuals look like who are making those purchases, and let's have a look, are there specific times in the day that this particular item is purchased? And that data is really useful, because that can then be utilised to the benefit of the retailer to ultimately make more sales.
Yeah, and again, that's the biggest challenge at the moment. It is reduce costs, increase profit, but also all of this together comes to delivering a better experience for the consumer of that retailers' products. And if we can do that, then we get a better retention of customer loyalty, we get increased, sales, etc. So there's a lot of sort of anecdotal benefits as well that maybe aren't as easy to quantify, but once we have all the quantifiable ones, all that becomes icing on the cake almost at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It's like we're pulling from all angles to quantify the value and the benefit, and it's not something we've typically done, and I think we'll discuss more in the next podcast, but this is where you see this business case really start coming to light.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I think even we talked a little about the logistics piece, and I think that data on, order packing accuracy, shipping accuracy, again, feeds back into the customer loyalty and customer experience piece. No one wants to get the wrong package, especially if you've been waiting for it for a specific thing and it turns up wrong. Yeah, great, you might get a great returns experience, but if you needed that on Saturday and you don't going to have it because it was delivered wrong, that has a negative impact. And then there's a cost then to having to do the replacement, the shipping costs, the admin costs that go with it. All of this stuff, impacts the bottom line at the end of the day. So
one thing we found in the distribution space with a couple of retailers, we've almost set out that it's been a loss prevention exercise. So we've set out to help basically ascertain, are these fraudulent claims from the customers or not, as we mentioned in the previous podcast. But what's actually happened is we've stumbled across efficiencies in their process. So the staff and sometimes it is by goodwill, they're trying to pack more than one item at once. But what's happening is that is the reason that these mix-ups are happening, and it's causing these inefficiencies. So then it goes into an operational piece, and more people within the business are involved. And that wasn't something we set out to do. These are just the added benefits that you will get as a byproduct of implementing these features.
That makes sense. Is there any other parts of the platform? Then we talked a lot about sort of door entry, a lot about camera data, etc. Are there other elements of the platform that can be brought in to gather other data that's worth just sort of touching on?
Absolutely. There are other elements for data when we start looking at things like air quality monitoring, which it's becoming more and more prevalent. So people are becoming more aware of what is going on in the air ultimately. I don't think it's something 30, 40 years ago that we would have been too concerned about. But the more environmentally friendly we're becoming, it is becoming more of something people are interested in. Funnily enough, one of the readings on the air quality sensors that we offer is actually vape detection, which a lot of retailers are interested in. If people are vaping on site, are the staff doing it where they shouldn't be? Because depending on what you're selling, right, it could have a negative impact on stock. It could be a real issue there. But even things like CO2, air quality and temperature, let's understand, are we having these spikes in temperature? Is that the reason that our product, our produce is going out of date quickly? And let's start taking a look on that data, and we can look at that nationwide, globally, whatever it needs to be, and start making those decisions centrally for the business as a whole.
No, that makes perfect sense, and I think that's really going to be the foundation of the third episode, really, which is how do we build the business case, and it's going to be that multifaceted approach. But hopefully everyone can join us for part 3, where we really dig into how do we build that case, how do we help the right decision makers have the right data to get the right investment to unlock all this value that we've been talking about. So hopefully everyone will join us in part 3. Also, don't forget that we are running a webinar where we're going to dig into all these topics in even more detail and run some live demos of the solutions and the outcomes that we can deliver. And for now, thanks for listening. I've been Rob Sims, Chief Technologist for CDW.
And I've been Paige Dougherty, Enterprise Account Executive at Verkada.
Thanks everyone, and speak to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure to check out the back catalogue for more great insights. Don't forget to subscribe via your favourite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. We appreciate your support. And if you have a topic you want us to cover, feel free to reach out. Catch you next time.